Mike McCool here. I'm in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me is Mayor Tewalt. Glad you're here, Mayor. I appreciate you coming and talking to us from time to time. Mayor's going to bring us kind of up to date on what's been going on in the town for the last couple weeks and things that the council has been discussing and not discussing, and kind of just like fill us in on things that have been going on, and we'll go from there.
Well, at this point right now, we're still open for business. Every department, some of them are working from home, and some of them are working at their regular office schedules at the town hall, and our water and our sewer and electrical and all the other departments are working. Again, some from home, but most of them are working actually at the sites. And so everything is almost to normal as far as the employees. We've had no cases of the virus, and so we've been pretty fortunate with that. So, but things at this point are still in operational. Everything's going as good as we can expect it during this pandemic, and hopefully one day in the near future, the governor will release his executive order that he said on June the 10th, and hopefully get back working again and get our businesses started up again, and hopefully things will work out for us.
I heard Mr. Tiedrich this morning when we were over there at the school bus with the food distribution thing, and he mentioned that you've divided up your employees into teams so that they're kind of sharing. I mean, I don't know, let's call it, you work these 12 hours, you work these 12 hours, so that we'll keep our sewer and our water plant running. Is that pretty much?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. We're trying to regulate our employees where everybody's not burned out. And so that seems to be working very well at this time.
So if some of them get sick, hopefully they don't, we'll still have enough employees to keep the water on, keep the lights on, and can you imagine being home without electricity? That would be
that would be terrible.
That would be terrible.
Or
water. I mean, and we were talking about that earlier. It takes a lot. Just to keep the lights on, keep the water running, the sewer, we don't think about it. We just turn that faucet. We don't realize all the people and the things it takes to make that water flow and in both directions.
When I was public works director, when we had the water cut off a water break, I would get dozens of phone calls. When's the water getting back? We can't cook supper. We can't do
take
this.
A shower.
Take a shower. And it's a big issue, and you don't realize it. Like I said, like you said, until it's not coming through the faucets.
Well, it's like picking the trash up. I can remember when we lived in the county, we had to haul our trash, and when the well didn't work and the electric went out for a week at a time because the snow knocked all the trees over. I mean, that's when I started looking at houses in town.
That's right. Yeah. But going back to the town in general, we have already tried to relieve some of the problems that we have. We've done the credit card convenience fee that we normally would have charged, and we have eliminated that temporarily till 6/30/20. We've also changed the penalties and the actual late dates that on our utilities account. So, we're not charging those penalties because we know that people's going to be late in paying some of their bills and things of that nature. We have already decided that we're not going to disconnect any water and sewer or electrical for non-payment during this pandemic. So that's going to create another issue. And then we've also talking about different things when it comes to reconnection fees and things like that we're eliminating as well. And then we're also eliminating the penalty and the interest on personal property and real estate loans, or not loans, but real estate taxes when they come in, and we've extended that for a 90-day period. So we're trying to help, and all of this mounts up to about 175 or a little bit more than that per year that we're absorbing within the actual town.
That's $175,000.
Dollars, yes, yeah. Exactly. So that's money that we know that will not be coming back into our coffers at this point anyway.
Right. Well, it's a few pennies here and a few pennies there. It adds up.
It sure does.
It's just like a penny on our taxes.
Right.
It raises a substantial amount of money.
And speaking of that, that's another thing we've done. We've dropped their tax rates from 13 cents and a half down to 13. So that's an additional $65,000 that will be not brought forward.
And we also know that there is this deficit in just these last 2 or 3 months of our budget, a tremendous amount. I know that you guys were going through cutting the budget, taking that red pen and
that's correct.
And marking things, and some of that's just going to be kicking the can down the road, but some of it will be eliminated through positions, and it's amazing trying to cut $2 million out of the budget. It's a lot of money.
Well, again, like you just said, we have gone through and we have cut. Well, let me go back. Within the town budget of this year alone, we have already going to see a shortfall of somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5, maybe 3 million. We just don't know.
And that's just till June 30th.
That's till June the 30th, and that's going to be the meals tax, lodging taxes, a BPOL, many other taxes that we receive on a yearly basis, and with businesses being closed, and some of them may be closed permanently, all of these things are going to be affected. As well as our income from the state. We don't have a clue what that's going to be yet, but I'm sure it's going to be
reduced.
Reduced to some degree.
Right.
Sure. And so we're trying to work through this pandemic, and I think we've so far done a real good job overall. Especially when you have unknowns. I mean, when you have something unknown, you don't know if you're going in the right direction or not. But
right.
I think so far we've done a real good job in keeping things afloat and keeping town hall and everything operational. So I think we've done a great job.
Well, that's it kind of that's why we have reserves to work on, and I noticed that some of the talk for the last 6 months or so, there's individuals on council want to reduce our reserves, instead of raising the taxes. But if something like this happens, these reserves have come really in handy.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to reduce.
We won't have any reserves
to reduce.
And we took care of that problem, didn't we?
We sure did.
The reserves are gone.
And again, the unforeseen, we don't know how much more it's going to take out of the coffers when it comes to this pandemic. It's just unbelievable how quickly, a great economy, and all of a sudden now you have no economy.
Yeah, in less than 2 months.
That's right, 45 days.
And and a lot of businesses, we talk about the unemployment and businesses that have closed, but a lot of business stayed open. Like our business, we have a big customer base in the entertainment world, but even though we're open, we have very little entertainment business. If musicians and performers can't play in front of the public, they don't need merchandise to buy. So, and that business won't come back. And that's like the restaurant business. When they open up, they're not going to get. They'll start from that point on. But all that stuff in the past is not coming back.
No, it can't come back. No way.
It's like selling airtime.
That's right.
It's gone. It's over.
If you didn't serve 1,000 meals before today, you're not going to pick up 2,000 tomorrow.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's just not going to take place.
So
the only thing that I have a problem with, and it's not affected. What is affecting the town to some degree is what the executive order of Governor Northam brought forward is the fact that we should have looked a little bit more carefully and considered the rural areas, because the rural areas have not been affected by this pandemic like some of the cities and counties and towns in Northern Virginia.
Right.
And so, I thought it should have been used a little bit differently, that areas where you see where it's really hitting hard should have been forced to close. But people where you have the rural areas where you have very little things going on, then they should have been able to remain open.
Well, and a lot of these places have a mobility, like New York City. Mm-hmm. You have people coming from all over the world. Places like Front Royal, pretty much semi-isolated. We have very few tourists and things coming through the area per capita. Mm-hmm. Like that, and like you said, is the things could be, maybe that's the part of this phase. What they talked about, the governor's talking about phasing back in, rebooting the economy will come in phases, but it still sounds like it's going to be a statewide phase instead of a region by region. I mean, it's kind of hard to read.
That's what it appears to me, that if when he changes the executive order, it's going to be, like I said, statewide. It's not going to be localities, and yet it could be. He may open up parts of like Front Royal and other areas that more rural and keep Northern Virginia closed for a longer period of time, which
Right.
is not good either, due to the fact that that's where a lot of the tax base is generated from,
Sure.
in Northern Virginia and
That's right,
Norfolk.
where the people are.
Yeah,
That's right.
so it's got its pluses, got its negatives, and so we just have to see what's best for the.
Well, we
state of
wonder how
Virginia.
much longer people will put up with. We were seeing news reports in Michigan and different places where people are getting a little upset with being home all the time, being closed down, and being forced.
Right.
It's like their rights are being trampled. It's,
Well, at the end, we do have rights, and I'm glad we do, but again, sometimes those rights is for our protection, and in some areas, I think that we should have to stay home and to get through this pandemic. Yet, like I said, in other areas of Virginia, it doesn't affect them.
right.
But in areas where it is being affected, then they should have the option, or not the option, but they need to stay home, and hopefully that this pandemic will soon go away.
Yeah. Well, we know basically the two ways it's going to go away is when we get a vaccine or we become immune to it. And so, sometimes the disease is worse than the treatment, or the treatment's worse than the disease.
Well,
I'm not a scientist or not a doctor, but, we look at most things that we do is common sense.
Well,
you stay away from people that are sick. You wash your hands. If you don't feel well, you stay home. I mean, you go to your doctor. I mean, that's pretty much what we.
Well, I mean, that to me always should have been.
Exactly, we've been doing it.
Yeah,
but there's
because,
some people I know that they've got the flu and they go to work.
Oh yeah, I know. I've been there and done that.
Been there, done that.
Over the years, but a little different than those days when I was working.
Oh, I know. I always said, well, I can be just as sick at work as I can at home. You're going to school. But it's different. I think going forward, it's going to be different. I can already see people. Most of us and have this fear, of things. And you can see when people are about, they're staying away from people. They're standing away. They're not elbow to elbow. They're 6 and 10 feet apart. It's just kind of a natural thing people are doing.
One thing I don't really think we'll ever get back to our norm as we call it today. I'm like you. People are going to stay their distance, and that's not a bad thing. It's not such a good thing. I know that a lot of families have not even. I had a call the other day from a friend of mine that hadn't seen his grandchildren in almost 6 months.
Right.
And due to the fact the father is a person who works for in Northern Virginia that works for the fire department and also in the rescue, and so they're afraid to get around them due to the fact that his job puts him in a bad situation on a daily basis.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't know you have it till you've already given it to somebody.
That's true.
That's the one thing about it. Once you do get sick or have symptoms, people will stay away. But there's that period of time where you're spreading it and don't really realize that you're sick.
That's right. But going back to the town in relationship, we've been talking about a recovery program, and some of the council is 100% for it, some aren't 100% for it at this point. But we're talking about a recovery program that maybe could be helpful, it may not be.
Right.
But I didn't realize it, but we have 568 businesses in Front Royal. I didn't realize it was near that many, and I was shocked when we got our records and showing that, and we have quite a few. Their gross receipts some of them are low, 100,000 or two, and some are way up there,
way up in the millions,
300,000 plus.
Yeah, there's $1 million businesses. And we just don't realize that.
So if we do the recovery assistance program, it could help some, and it may not help any because it's such a small number of the amount of money that we are only able to utilize. And so really, I don't think it'll have a whole lot of effect on our businesses because it's just not enough money to get people out of the hot water. The only thing that we've talked about is taking part of the money, if we do the recovery program, and let it come back through the utilities that they are forced to pay on a monthly basis, and let most of that money, if it is a recovery program, then let that money come back through our coffers, through them using the money to pay their delinquent bills such as electrical, water, sewer, and even taxes and things of that nature.
Yeah, well, a little bit of relief always does help,
Sure.
and people will take it. At least, either way, it's still a loss of revenue to the town, which will have to be, will have to be eventually made up.
Well, that's true.
That's not going to go away. The cost of that, if we give $500 worth of electricity to a business, we still have to pay for that electricity.
Oh, yes.
The town doesn't just generate that for free.
People don't realize we have this year I think it was around $45 million budget or somewhere in that range.
Right.
And about $15 million of that goes out just for the purchase of electrical power.
Right.
And so then you reduce that down from the 45, you got to 30 million. So,
and then when you really get down to what you can cut, you're around a $10 million budget as far as what you would call discretionary. It's really not discretionary, but most of that budget is for our enterprise funds.
Oh yeah, definitely so. That is the majority of it, and the electric department is really the biggie, because like I said, we have to pay for the power.
Right.
If we get the power, we have to pay for it on a monthly basis.
Right.
So that every time that a bill is not paid, whether it's water, sewer, electric, garbage, then it reduces our income. And but it doesn't stop us from having to pay the electrical bills and treating the water and the sewer and all the other things that we have to do.
And that was one of the sides too about trying to help these 561 businesses. Are we going to take our taxpayer money and only just help a few people with it? That's because eventually all of us will have to pay for that.
That's true. It's no doubt that the whole tax system in Front Royal will have to pay for whatever we do. Yeah.
Whatever we do.
Again, going back to what you said about the revenue, if we use $1 million for recovery, sooner or later, hopefully we can recoup that.
Well, we need to recoup it.
Put it back into our coffers, because we don't know the future, and we may need that in the future just to survive.
Right.
For the town to survive in doing what they're doing at this point.
Right.
So everything is we just don't know, and it's a shame because it's hard to operate on the unknown basis.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing at this time, and we do know that we're going to be losing approximately $3 million in the next 3 months due to the coronavirus, and then hopefully that next year when we're looking at our budget for next year, and we've already reduced it substantially, and there's a lot of projects that's not going to happen. There's a lot of things that we've already removed, and so it's really going to affect the town, the citizenry for the next maybe 2 or 3 years.
And it's going to take.
We get back to
this $1 million is not going to be raised back in 1 year. It's going to take several years to raise back this, penny here, penny there.
If we ever get it back.
If we ever get it back.
It's like we said at a restaurant. If you lose 1,000 meals, not being sold, and you open up tomorrow, you're not going to pick up that extra 1,000 in the first week or two.
No.
It's not going to happen.
But I think
same with us.
The town and county both are working hard. I know Chairman Mabe is out and about every day doing it. I know you are, Mr. Tiedrick, trying to juggle the dollars and the people and putting them in the areas, because I see the crew. Yesterday the light was out. There was the crew fixing the lights.
It's true.
Fixing the potholes, and it's still going on, and cutting the grass. These are the kind of things that has to go on.
Has to go on. But I will say this, though. We've had a good relationship with Walt Mabe and the Board of Supervisors. It's been, in a way, that may have been good for the pandemic to come, but
It's
I
kind of
really
forced
hate
us
the
to
results.
all work together.
Yeah, so we're all working together.
We're in this together.
You're exactly
hashtag.
Right. And I'm really proud that we can work together in that relationship to get through this pandemic. The emergency services, that they're doing a fantastic job in letting the people be aware of, what is going on, and that's great. I know that we get together every Thursday. I haven't been there for 2 Thursdays because it was pretty much related to other benefits of the county, so I have not been there. But I am concerned about the things that we're doing, and I'm very interested that we're doing the things that is going to get us through this pandemic. And I really, really applaud the employees, the medical fields, the town staff, the county, and anyone else that's involved in this pandemic, because people don't realize how much time is been invested in just keeping the county and the citizens abreast of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And
and people are going to work and they're showing up doing it, and the volunteers, people are volunteering.
Oh yeah.
Our local churches are out and about providing food. We'll have a video up here today too with the school system, with all the stuff that's going on. It's just a lot of people are involved in this, and like you said, I think we're all in it together. And I think people really realize it's just not me. It's us.
Well, going back to this morning when we went out for the school and seeing the report that was given to us, 4,500 meals a day or more.
Yeah.
It's being distributed throughout the county by the school system. You'd be shocked that these are 2 meals a day, and they do it 3 times a week, I understand.
Right.
And it's a great program, even though it's costing money through the county school system. But again, it's something that this county needs due to the fact that there are a lot of people that don't have the funds to buy the food they need for their family.
Right.
And so it's a great program that they're doing, and not only for Warren County, but the statewide is doing this. And that's
it's a
great
statewide
because
program.
there are meals that some kids would not get any food at all if it wasn't for this. So
Well, there's always things we don't like when in the government and our political leaders. Of course, there's always good things too, and we'll try to bring the good things out, and we'll leave the bad things behind for a couple of days anyway.
I've been in the political arena for a long time, and I think in the majority cases we've done as good as we can. We're limited to a certain degree by the state, feds, and things that we can do. But overall, I think the town as a whole, the county as a whole, and others have done a great job in making sure that the citizens are getting back what they deserve from the political people.
One of the things that the county and the town has done, and some of these things you mentioned, we cut a lot of red tape. It seems like the feds have done it, the county's done it, the state's done it. And things have still worked pretty good without all that red tape. And I'm just wondering if the new normal, how long is it going to take to get back to the bureaucracy will start? You know what I mean?
Well, I hope we don't get back to the bureaucracy that we've had in the past. If we can operate today the way we're doing it without the bureaucracy,
well, maybe
we can continue to operate without a lot of bureaucracy.
Maybe we need to look at some of these ordinances and rules and regulations and fees, because sometimes I remember, we have a $5 fee for something. It costs us $10 to collect it.
Well, a lot of times those fees were done many years ago.
Oh, I know it.
$5 a lot of money. Today, it is. It costs us $10 to pick up a $5 fee.
Exactly.
And so
I noticed you've changed some of those.
We have gone through our our ordinances. I don't know how you want to call it, but they are ordinances per se. And we've looked at those, and we mathematically, like Monday night, we changed 2 or 3 of them, and because it's just not sustainable.
Well, it's not sustainable. It's just not needed anymore.
No, it's not needed. That's
and we need to look at things like that. I think going forward, it'll be different than what it was in the past. And I think that we just need to adapt to the new norm.
We'll have to adapt, and we will. I mean, we always done in the past. Going back to World War II, it was a big issue, and when the men got back and the women from the military, it was a mess. It was my father-in-law being in World War II. Told us a lot of stories, and he didn't have a job at all when he got back, and he had 3 kids, and it was tough for them, and but he had adjusted and got a job, and everything went well after they got back, and everything went back to normal.
We were talking to Walt Mabe, and he really likes this community garden idea. And I can remember the gardens you used to have down there south of down, I don't know what street it was, but right below Main Street there. And we would go down there, and we had tomatoes and cucumbers and squash coming out our ears.
Oh yeah.
And we just lost that community thing. 'Cause everyone had gardens, and that was probably 20 years ago, maybe. And
Yeah,
a
little longer.
maybe longer than that. I can
A
remember.
whole lot longer than that.
I guess we were young enough and not quite so fat to bend over to take care of them. But that's something I think brings community together. And that's a project that I notice he's pushing for, and I know you're in favor of things.
Well, I'm
like
in favor of it. Like you said, we had about 3 or 4 acres down at the old disposal area,
Right.
the new farm, the
Right.
Dawson farm, and we separated it, and had people begging for these spots.
That's right.
And,
Well,
but,
maybe that's something the town can
it's
do.
great.
We got to find some flat land somewhere, and,
yeah.
and we could plow it up because the planting season ends here pretty soon for the summer, so it's kind of hard. I think it's what Walt was saying. He says maybe next year, but it's a project. And,
It's always a project. It's a
always
good
a project.
as far as I'm concerned.
get the community together. I think once we start getting back, we are social creatures. So I
Yes.
think that once we get, and I am discouraged that the governor did do this 10-person thing when churches are closing, and I think people, it don't take long for people to start fading away from their spiritual life, and I just hope that we can get that going
I
again
do
too.
too. I know churches are really trying to help in any way they can, but church finances are going down as well.
Sure.
When you don't have church services, then part of your contribution never shows back up.
That's right.
And that's a problem that I'm hearing from a lot of people, that they're not able to do the things that they'd like to do because of that reasoning.
Well, if you miss once, okay, you miss twice, then all of a sudden you've done missed 10 times.
That's true.
And then you need to get back. So we need to really think about our spiritual life as well, and because we are spiritual creatures, even if we don't agree with what that spiritual arm is, but we are, and we'll see how that goes as well. So
That's good, and I hope and pray that we can get back to the norm, and hope it comes sooner than we expect.
I hope so,
it can
too.
happen within the next couple of weeks. Hopefully,
we'll see as it goes along. Today, the governor has allowed the medical field to start doing elective surgeries,
Right.
and I know I have a dentist appointment on Monday.
Is that part of it?
Yes, to be able to do dental work now other than
okay.
emergency. So that started Friday, today, the 1st of May. So we'll see. That's an easing. Things will go. We'll see how that
Yeah.
works out. So it'll.
Well, that opens up a lot of businesses. I mean, I know that Valley Health has let go a lot of people due to
Yeah.
the fact that they don't
No
need
income.
them, no
Yeah.
income. And so, if you get back to the surgical portion and all the others, that'll be
Well,
great.
and some of the treatments and diseases and medical issues that people have just been delayed.
Yes.
And you're wondering, that will have an effect on us.
It's going to have a big effect on us. Yeah. But as we close our meeting, even today, I just want to tell the public that we're doing all we can to minimize the problems that we're having, and hopefully that people will stay home, wash their hands, and follow the orders of the governor, and hopefully that he releases some of these restrictions sooner than later. Then hopefully we get back to the norm again and get back to going to our restaurants and enjoying our fellowship
Keep
together.
our business open.
Yeah.
Mayor, I appreciate you coming in periodically and talking to us, keeping us informed of what's going on in our community. And we know you're out there working hard, you along with the rest of the crew. It's appreciated very much.
And we appreciate the work you're doing, Mike.
Thanks again, Gene. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.